Let's look at the best and worst of Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans in 2025. The offseason's upon us. I find this kind of interesting. Plus, CJ Stroud, running joke nationally. The biggest joke exposes himself once again. Let's try to make some sense of why this is happening. Fun offseason edition of the Locker Room. We're getting there.
Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the Locker Room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the head.
We're going to get there. We're going to get to off-season mode. We're there. But it is hard to watch what's going on right now and not think, man, should be covering this football game, but we are not. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. No practice or anything. We got the combine a month away from tomorrow. SNL with myself and Cody Stoots will both be on the scene. And we will be broadcasting live out there throughout the week as we get to the off season. So I want to touch on a couple of things here, the best and worst of Nick Caserio. We'll get to that in a sec, but let's start with the ongoing CJ Stroud dialogue, which has hit almost kind of a funny point at this point. It's you can't avoid it. It's all over the place. The quotes are being grabbed, and I want to talk about this and the reason why I think CJ Stroud is getting roasted so bad nationally. And it's really not that deep. It really isn't. But I do think there's a little bit of a meaning to it. And I do wonder how he's going to handle it. Most recently, another local athlete, Derek Lewis of UFC. I saw this making the rounds. He had a theory on CJ Stroud. This is an MMA presser, and this is what he said.
What moves would you like to see the Texans make for next season?
I guess we got to see what's going on with CJ. I think ever since we seen him show up with Amber Rose at the softball game a few years ago, and Kim Kardashian and all that, and I'm like, man, it might be like a curse for him.
What moves would you like to see that the Texans make for next season?
I guess we got to see what's going on with CJ. I think ever since we seen him show up with Amber Rose at the softball game a few years ago, and Kim Kardashian and all that, and I'm like, man, it might be like a curse for him.
All right. So you have Derek Lewis talking Amber Rose. You have him talking Kardashian in the suite and all that stuff. You have Barstool with this headline right here that they've put out. And I've seen this run with a few times where CJ Stroud has come up with the most innovative excuse yet. Says he turned the ball over so much because Houston's defense is so good, close quote. And that was an interesting quote when it was said. But this is what I think is happening here with CJ Stroud. I think there's a couple of things that are happening that I think we kind of touch on these over the course of the year, but this is why this stuff is happening so much. And by the way, the CJ Stroud, like I'm not used to having a good defense is kind of weird because in 2023, his final year at Ohio State, they were actually the second best defense in the nation. They allowed 11 points a game. Like they weren't like 100% dependent on him being Superman. They let up 11 points a game. But here's the reason why CJ Stroud is getting roasted. I think number one is he deserves it. He played terrible. It was on a national stage. He played completely awful. You look at this stage right here, that just look at it. 38 million viewers, they watched CJ Stroud wet the bed on the biggest stage possible. And that's what he did. He did wet the bed. It was a terrible performance. And I think anyone with any credibility, not all do, we'll talk about someone in a sec, but would acknowledge that, however you want to acknowledge it. But it was the most watched sporting event, excluding Super Bowls, in the history of in the history of ABC/Disney networks. So there were a crap ton of people watching the game, and more people are going to have an opinion. It was also a terrible performance. So the reason for that is justified. And this is why a lot of times whenever you hear like the notion that narratives and media and all that is a thing, that it's a big eye roll for me. Like when DeMeco Ryans and me kind of got into it, where he's talking about people thrive on the negative. I don't think that CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans really realize sometimes just how good they have it here when it comes to scrutiny and attention. Because I think CJ Stroud would have gotten a lot more negative attention if the Texans were always on this big of a stage. I think a lot of the things that he says would be getting a lot more scrutiny, but the reality is nationally, they don't really care a lot of the time. And the example I'll use is DeMeco Ryans with the "you guys good" rant and all that. If he coached anywhere in New York, if he coached the Cowboys, if he coached the Steelers, if he coached Green Bay, that would have been picked up nationally. It really wasn't that picked up. It really didn't get much attention. CJ Stroud, we talked about this after the Pittsburgh game. He said he played good. If someone heard CJ Stroud say that he didn't play good, like if that were a national thing, he would be getting roasted for that. Same thing with last year when he said he wasn't having fun. So I think there's just a lot more attention, and that comes with a lot more scrutiny. And I also think CJ Stroud says some outlandish things. We talk about them. Like, not everybody around here talks about them. But like when he says that he played good against the Steelers, we talk about it. When he admits that he's not having fun, we talk about it in the moment. When he says that the thing he likes about Nick Caley is that Nick Caley presents it the way that he likes it, we talk about that. So there's no like, it's not a piling on thing. It's a fluid thing, but it doesn't get a lot of national attention. So that's kind of why people are piling on to CJ Stroud right now. It comes with the territory. It's just, fortunately for him, in this territory, you don't get it as much. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying what it is. Like me and Stoots, we will tell you, like, when we think CJ Stroud says something a little bit outlandish. Now, because there was so much attention to that game, people see CJ Stroud kind of insinuate that he's getting used to not having to be Superman and like all the stuff like they're talking about. That's the normal life around here with CJ. And that's just why it's happening. And the other part of it is, and this is where when you start talking about sympathy and stuff, because what you're going to see now is you're going to see certain people who, and this is like an extreme generalization, which I hate, but you're going to see the other side taken just for the sake of discussion when it comes to CJ Stroud. You're going to see the, well, it's not that bad, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And you're going to see that. And you're also going to see maybe some people come to his defense here. And I do wonder, like, are you buying CJ Stroud low? The CJ Stroud stock right now is as low as it could possibly be. And maybe it was a little bit too high after 2023, but it might be the time to buy CJ Stroud stock. Much like I thought it was time to buy Christian Harris stock last year. I was wrong about that. But is it time to do that? I was watching some card rips today on Fanatics Live, and they were talking about, now's the time to get in the CJ Stroud market. Is it time to buy stock for CJ Stroud? It could very well be, but this national stuff, it is what it is. It comes with the territory. Fortunately for him, he's in Houston. He's going to be safe most of the time, but that's what happens. There's more attention on CJ Stroud right now, and some of the wild things he says, people they don't have an interest in like carrying his water or anything like that. So they'll say how outlandish they think it is. And they'll do so in a much more aggressive way than even me and Cody will do in here. So that's where he's at. He being CJ Stroud. Something interesting that happened in the CJ Stroud area today, and someone brought this to my attention in the chat. Someone brought up Dan Orlovsky, and I guess Dan Orlovsky apologized to CJ Stroud because I guess he said that 31 other quarterbacks could have won that game the other day. Like 31 other quarterbacks could have won that game the other day. Nothing too crazy. But then on the very next day, Dan Orlovsky, he comes out and apologizes and says that he was out of line and he was over the he crossed the line when it came to the CJ Stroud situation. My thing is this. I haven't taken Dan Orlovsky serious since 2021 because I've seen this happen. This is the exact same thing that happened. If y'all follow along, I've seen this happen. He had a really strong Justin Fields opinion heading into the draft, and then all of a sudden he got drugged for it, and it's very obvious. Ryan Clark, David Mulligetta, the agent and the friend of David Mulligetta, they drug him. He goes on there. He apologizes. Then he does some fake film breakdown a week later, talks about how awesome Justin Fields is, and he's completely changed his opinion because he got bullied into it. It's the same reason that when Deshaun Watson won it out of Houston, Dan Orlovsky said, there's things that just can't even be explained. And he kind of backed away from that. Same thing here. Same agent, same colleague. And this is why I haven't taken Dan Orlovsky serious since. This is why. Like, we talk about the compromised NFL insiders when it comes to agents.
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
Schefter, Rappaport, all that. And it's kind of an eye roll for a lot of people. Just being compromised is just kind of a little bit of an eye roll. But when it starts to become the analysts to the point where they're having opinions, and either their opinions are so loose that they back away from it, or they're just so owned by other people, that's where you kind of roll that's where you kind of roll the ice. That's where you kind of roll the ice. And Kame says Dan was usually a CJ fan. Yeah, because he's a Mulligetta guy. But once he played bad, he said he played bad, and then he had to apologize for it. That's what it was. Yeah, that's obvious. If you said that 31 other quarterbacks would have won the game, then big deal. You don't need to apologize for it. If you thought Justin Fields wasn't good and you heard stuff and you actually did the research to talk about it, stand on it. Don't let Mulligetta and Ryan Clark bully you into changing your opinion. This is exactly 2021. I told you this 5 years ago. Someone came up to me. Dan Orlovsky said, for the last 5 years, it's been, I don't care what Dan Orlovsky says because it's a compromised opinion. It's not real. They might as well just give him a list of Mulligetta guys that Ryan Clark doesn't want him to talk about, and he should just sit it out. But if you're compromised like that, you can't take it serious. I have to cover CJ Stroud. If CJ Stroud plays good, I'll say CJ Stroud plays good. If CJ Stroud plays bad, I'll say CJ Stroud play bad. It's not that hard, but this is a real like thing where you just can't trust them. And a lot of these guys don't really even they don't put any value on themselves. They don't put any value in the audience that they speak to. They just think you're dumb. You said 31 other guys could have won the game. They could have. It was a bad performance. It's not the end of the world. And then I only saw the clip because it was sent to me. Then all of a sudden I would never say that a team won or lost a game because of quarterback. Buddy, you've been saying that forever about a lot of people. And I would bet that in 2023 you were talking about why the Texans were great because of CJ Stroud. If you're an analyst and you're not willing to say a team won or lost because of a quarterback, you're a weirdo. And this is why I haven't trusted the guy. And this is nothing new, but I think a lot of people are catching up to it. The national media types have a lot of stuff to do. Typically, they're not paying a lot of attention to the Texans. I don't blame them. Texans haven't been to the AFC Championship in a long time. I don't blame them. But the people around here live this shit. And a lot of times that means that they're going to be more drawn to players and they're going to be softer on players, or a lot of times it means that they have a better grasp of it. So if you're someone who follows the Texans, you shouldn't have been listening to Dan Orlovsky in the first place. He doesn't stand on anything. He doesn't stand for anything. And that's not a new development. That happened in 2021. It was the exact same thing. And if you follow this channel, if you've listened to me on the radio. I've always said this. This isn't new. I laid it out. I laid out the actual sound and everything. It's there. Boom. But CJ Stroud's getting a lot of attention because more people are watching. And also, he kind of deserves it. And they're listening to his words a little bit more. Houston, they say it's a top 5 market. It's not. It's just a top 5 market based on population. It's not a top 5 media market. The Chronicle sends one person to the on the road. The TV station sent one person on the road. They're not all consistently at practice. Chronicle is. Jonathan Alexander and Sam Warren are there all the time. But when push comes to shove, sometimes they divide them up when it comes to sending them on the road. The Chronicle doesn't even have a columnist. So there's that. Like, it's not like a major, like, intense TV market. It's a great city. It's an awesome city. But when they say top 5, it's not based on any production. It's not based on any results. It's not based on any of that. It's based on population. And a lot of times it's got like a small market feel where people are easier on the athletes. This is just new territory for CJ Stroud. It's appropriate. It's earned. And the other part about it that we haven't mentioned is, and I want to know if you are going to buy CJ Stroud stock low. Yes or no, if you're going to buy the stock low. The other thing is that CJ was doing a world tour after he had a good season. He was on every podcast. He was even sitting in a stream and like critiquing draft picks. So yeah, that's what it is. So there it is. It's really not that serious. It's not that big of a deal. And it's weird that Dan Orlovsky compromised himself on that. But it's a lot of attention. And God, I'll put myself in CJ's shoes and say, I don't know whether I'd be able to take it or not. So I'm not minimizing it. There's a reason these guys get paid the big bucks. But damn, it is a lot. And from a human perspective, good Lord. Good Lord. Especially if you were soaking it all in and loving it when it was good. It is a hell of a lot for him to have to endure, and we'll see whether he can or not. But buy low, I'll sprinkle a little bit in. I don't think he has to be Superman. I didn't think he could be worse than he was against Pittsburgh, but yeah, I'll sprinkle a little in. I'm not going all in on the penny stocks, but I'll definitely buy some CJ stock.
Swarm.
MMA Gods on the chat says Tua Stroud needs a fresh fade. Get his magic back. Is that like a figure of speech, like a fresh fade? Like you're saying, like get rid of the hair? Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a little bit wild. Dustin B says, "What's the story behind the Alpha Aaron sound?" We just call him Alpha Aaron, and he made the drop for us when we were there. So he's Alpha Aaron.
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
He does some funny stuff, and just Alpha Aaron. So that's actually his voice. He recorded it for me and Stoots. Logan Roberts 9441. Shout out to you. Reader Logistics says CJ had one really good year. 2-3 regression. If he has a good year this season, can we expect 2 more that are bad? Well, I mean, you would only have 1 more, the 5th-year option, so you would have to decide whether you pay him. Danny says, Daniel was 100% accurate, so I don't know why I apologize. It wasn't really that serious. I really don't get it. It didn't make sense. But it's definite bullying from Mulligetta, Ryan Clark. It happened with Justin Fields, and it happened with the Watson thing where he was just putting himself out there. He's at their mercy for some reason. I don't know why. I think there was a big undertone in 2021, and he kind of caved to it. And when you cave once, all of a sudden you're at their mercy. Dan Orlovsky's basically, I would love to see those text messages because they exist. Text messages, phone calls, conversations after. It was you're like, man, you were way out of line. That's like my little bro, and I can talk about him, but you can't. Man, I can't believe you would say something like that. This kid's going like that. That's kind of what it looks like. MMA Gods, what leverage would they have? I don't know what the leverage would be. I don't really know. Your guess is as good as mine, but we'll see. But there's definitely a lot of attention, and that was what that was. So there we go. but I'll buy the stock. I'll sprinkle in some cheap stock, but I'll say this: Nick Caserio definitely needs to put a better team around him. And he needs to have a good offseason in 2026, maybe even better than the one he had in 2025, which we're going to grade. And that's the whole point of today's offseason portion of the program. By the way, tomorrow, myself and Cody Stoots will be live at Spanky's Bel Air Sharpstown. We're going to get there at 3. We have TriStar tickets for the show 2 Saturdays from now. We have meet and greets that we will be raffling off with Charlie Sheen, Jeff Kent, Calvin Murphy, and others. We also have some autographed baseballs. We're also going to get some autographed football stuff at this show. So this is going to be, we're going to have a lot of stuff to give away and a lot of stuff to talk about. And I know there's a big portion of people in this community that love the offseason almost as much as they love the season, which is why the season never really stops, even when it does. If you get what I'm trying to say. Early draft thoughts, the combine being a month away. Me and Cody have already got our spot where we're staying. We're right by the combine. We'll be broadcasting live there. Early draft thoughts, you just got to get offensive. You got to get offensive weapons, as many as possible. Maybe on the interior, tight end, running back, offensive line, and then if you can swing for the fences on defense, you already evaluate it, do that as well. You're probably going to need some depth on the interior D line and maybe at linebacker. So I think there's a lot of options when it comes to the draft. Let's talk about the best and worst moves for Nick Caserio this season. Let's talk about the best and worst moves of the offseason for DeMeco and Caserio. You can't really separate Caserio from DeMeco. Can't really do that. But for the sake of this, we'll just say the best moves with them. And do we want to start with the worst or the best? There's always like the question, do you want the good news or the bad news? Where do we want to start? Do we need some positive? First 1 to 5 wins. Are we going to start with the good or the bad? All right, we'll start good. We need some positive. So we'll start good. The best thing I think that Caserio did and DeMeco in the offseason was the draft. Specifically on day 2. I thought they did a good job of giving some guys who produced this season. And I think the arrow is pointing up on these guys. And it's the second straight year that they didn't have a first-round pick as a result of a trade, which we got to get into. And they did a good job. 2 years ago, it was on defense with Bullock and Lassiter. And this year it was on offense with Higgins, Knoll, Marks, Ursery. And then on defense, they also added Jalen Reed, who's a starter. So They added at least 3 starters next year. I don't think that Marks and Knoll start next year, although who knows? Maybe Knoll replaces Christian Kirk, who might not be on the good side, but might be on the other side of this. But I would say for the most part, the 25 draft class was really solid. You got a guy who you hope turns into a really good wide receiver too in Higgins. You got a guy in Knoll who has potential. And you hope that he kind of is contributing near the top at wide receiver as well as contributions on special teams. You got a left tackle, hopefully of the future, in Ariante Ursery. A lot to build on there. You got a running back who can be part of a good committee in Woody Marks. Hopefully they actually use his superpower of catching the football next year. And then you got potentially a starting safety in Jalen Reed. You could do a lot worse than that in a draft. So I would say that they deserve some credit for what they did in the 2026 draft. I would say they definitely deserve some some credit there. Next thing that I think that Caserio and DeMeco did well was I thought they did a good job trading Landry Tunsil and changing the culture of the offensive line. I was a big proponent of this from the beginning. I think it was good. The offensive line did not fall off a cliff because they lost Landry Tunsil. Matter of fact, it improved. And we actually got the guy who looked up to Landry Tunsil the most and the guy who the guy who you thought maybe was negatively impacted by him. Titus Howard had one of the better years of his career, and the versatility kind of paid off. The play was better. This was a good move. And a lot of times you have to say goodbye to good players once you start paying guys. Eventually they were going to have to do this. Some would say it was a long-termish move. I think it was the right move immediately. And I give them credit for this. I was always a big fan of this. And I think that it's paid off. And that draft pick ended up being a top 40 pick. So there you go. Good move, trading Landry Tunsil and changing the culture of the offensive line. Next move. This is a two-piece. This is kind of building on what they did last year. The early Tommy Togiai extension. Tommy Togiai is under contract next season because in season, early on, the Texans decided to sign him. That price definitely would have gone up had they not done that. And they actually did a good job on a couple of extensions, one of which I'll have to eat some crow on. But the Tommy Togiai thing, I thought Nick Caserio said it very well the other day. He's one of the best players on our defense. There always seems to be kind of like a hesitation when talking about Tommy Togiai and like almost like a feel like, oh man, I'm talking about someone that no one talks about. Nah, it's one of the worst kept secrets in Houston. He's one of the better players on the defense. He's top 6 player on one of the best defense in the league. He's top 6, top 7 player, depending on how you look at it. Any given week, he can be a top 3. And they got that done early, and they did a hell of a job at that. So salute to them for the Tommy Togiai extension. D-line, very thin. You feel good about him as even a long-term piece. That is an excellent job by them getting that done. Another one, Davis Mills. They gave Davis Mills an extension in the middle of the season. They needed that insurance policy. What's the thing I always say about backup quarterbacks? It's like rolling around without insurance. It's like rolling around without insurance. They locked up Davis Mills. Davis Mills won him 3 games. Davis Mills won as many games against playoff teams this year as C.J. Stroud did. He went 2-0. C.J. Stroud went 2-5. That's not even counting the Denver game. We won't count that one for C.J. or Davis. So Davis Mills, you don't get where you got without Davis Mills. I think he kind of increased the vibes, let C.J. Stroud step away at around the time where he kind of got burned out in 2024 and said he wasn't having fun. Davis Mills early extension, another dub for Caserio and DeMeco. We'll get back to some of the best in a sec. First, though, let's talk a little sleeper. Shout out to the greatness that is sleeper. I'm playing. If you want to play, this is the perfect time. You're going to be watching the game anyway. It's going to be showcased. So if you want to play greater than, less than, this is the perfect time to start. And you can do so by using my promo code. Use that promo code LOCKER. You get 100% up to $100. It's a very simple concept. A statistic is put up, receiving yards, passing yards, sacks. You say greater than, less than. The odds get higher and higher the more teams you pick. You got to pick players from 2 different teams, as few or as many as possible. This is what I'm going with this week. And it is a 14.9 to 1 sleeper pick. I'm actually a big fan of this one. So I'm going Stephon Diggs, less than 45.5 yards. He's going to have Surtain on him. Don't anticipate that's going to go well. Ramondre Stevenson, less than 50.5 yards. That's a tough defense. Ingram, greater than 20.5 yards. because I think that a quarterback making his first start of the year will probably be more than willing to throw to the tight end. Stidham, more than 199.5 yards, and Mr. Benito, greater than a half sack. I like this. I actually am starting to think Denver is going to give them a little bit of a battle, but that's where I'm at there with Ingram greater than, Stidham greater than, Benito greater than, and then Stevenson and Diggs less than. Use the promo code LOCKER, and you can get in the game. Looking forward to this. Texans should be in this. Blue Boy 9's upset. Let's see what Blue Boy 9 has to say in the chat. He's mad. This is always interesting.
Swarm.
He says, can y'all please quit saying the damn O-line improved? Y'all drive me crazy, and most of the Houston media does it. Going from 30th to 27th is not improvement. MG. I don't think that stat is correct, actually. So it is, but actually like 30 to 27 is improving. I didn't say it was good. I said it improved. You traded one of the highest paid tackles in the league, and your offensive line got better. So I don't know what rankings you're using of 30th to 27th. Like the sacks dropped significantly, and the overall grade on the O-line did. So I don't know who most of the Houston media is. I really don't give a fuck. Cody Stoots is really the only opinion that I value when it comes to that. But I think the offensive line did improve. I didn't say they were great. But it's funny when you say, can you quit saying they improved? They went 30th to 27th. That's improvement. But I don't even think that you're accurate. All right, Blue Boy, I got to put you in timeout. PFF ranking. All right. Yeah, that's a timeout. I love you. You're here all the time. You got to go. You got to go throw some water in the face there. PFF. Even then, it's an improvement. But you went PFF. Yeah, we got to put you in timeout there. The offensive line definitely did improve. I still love you, Blue. Don't leave me forever. Just leave me for 5 minutes. You were quoting the PFF ranking. And I don't even think you were quoting the PFF ranking right. Is the craziest thing. So the worst thing that Caserio and DeMeco did in the offseason, he said PFF. Everybody's laughing. He said PFF. He quoted that like it was like the gospel too. Can y'all quit saying that? PFF said 30 to 27, which is improvement. But he really said that. That's crazy. He quoted improvement, said it wasn't improvement, said it was the media, and then he said it was PFF. Crazy. PFF your ass in the corner, says Black 8 Element. I still love you, Blue Boy, but that's crazy. That's crazy. We saw the offensive line. It wasn't great, but it did improve. So on the best move with Caserio, I used the day 2 and day 3 of the draft, which I think he's done a really, really good job at when it comes to those two things. We'll revisit that, and I think a lot of people might throw up in their mouth. I think a lot of the draft nerds, and there are a lot of draft nerds, they might actually they were already on this like the second it happened. But we'll revisit that. But I think the worst Caserio, and this is going to be a body of work much like that, all the high money investment that Nick Caserio made this offseason was ass. The tire kicks were nice, but and big money is relative to the cap space that the Texans had. Not like they were throwing like Danielle Hunter money at these guys. But you look at the big money that the Texans invested. They gave Cam Robinson a 1-year deal worth up to $14.5 million. Now, Cleveland took a few million when they made the trade, but that was not great. CJ Gardner-Johnson, throwaway trade, but then they gave him a new contract. He only lasted 3 games. That was a disaster. Laken Tomlinson, they gave him up to $5 million. He was a disaster. He wasn't on the team halfway through the season. And then you have the Captain Kirk deal, which we'll take a closer look at.
Captain Kirk has arrived. I repeat, Captain Kirk has arrived.
So you look at these big money investments, and they weren't good. Now, I will say this. The Trent Brown, you can put these in the best. The Trent Brown and Ed Ingram tire kicks on the offensive line, the offensive line that improved, I would say that was pretty good by them. Maybe a little bit lucky. I don't think they anticipated Trent Brown being able to play. That's why his deal was less than Laken Tomlinson's by damn near half. But they did a good job with those tire kicks. But the stuff that they actually invested the most on, they actually did poorly, which is actually kind of brings up like an interesting question. Like, does more from Caserio mean less? Like when they make second round picks in the NFL draft, outside of Ariante Ursery, they're batting about 33%. Juice Scruggs, they don't want to play. Blake Fisher, they don't really want to play unless they have to and they're forced to. And Cam Robinson doesn't work out, although they didn't know they were going to get Ursery at the time. Laken Tomlinson doesn't work out, but Ed Ingram does. Ed Ingram's a guy that's a throwaway. Laken Tomlinson's a guy that you give $5 million to, and you're getting more the more attention you pay. So does less mean more with Nick Caserio? Like we're talking about day 2, and we're talking about the most money that he invested being his worst moves, and his best moves are the ones where it's just kind of a throwaway or it's day 2 or something like that. It's crazy. It's very, very interesting. Trent Brown for $2 million. Didn't think he was going to play. Quite frankly, I don't think medically he was supposed to play. I'm not saying he wasn't cleared. I'm just saying, like, if you took a doctor and you told him that a 6'9", 30-plus-year-old over 400 pounds, and yes, he weighs over 400 pounds, had that injury, I don't think they would anticipate him being able to play very much. I think he played about as much as he could. And he did, and it was pleasant. It was actually crazy. But that was a hell of a tire kick. Maybe they're just lucky that he was on the Patriots. You also look at Jake Andrews. They brought in Jake Andrews. Jake Andrews started immediately. Now, Caserio said he was hurt. We'll see what happens with Jake Andrews next year. I anticipate he'll be back. Will he be competing for a job? Who knows? But that was another low investment. The more that they invested, the worse off they were. Now, let's dive into the most polarizing one of all.
Captain Kirk, can you save me? Captain Kirk, I want to have your baby.
So the Kirk thing is interesting because I think on the surface, like with how we watched Christian Kirk and with how stuff went with Christian Kirk, it wasn't a great deal. Like it was a mix of Randall Cobb and Robert Woods. But because you drafted Jaden Higgins and because Xavier Hutchinson got better, again, a 6th round pick got better, it really didn't hurt you that much. And you got no production from Christian Kirk in season, but you won a playoff game with Christian Kirk behind a historic performance. And quite frankly, I don't know if you win the playoff game without Christian Kirk. Like with as bad as CJ Stroud was, I know that I know eventually the roof blew off and the Texans defense ended up running away. But when you're to the point where the Texans are, where you expect to be in the playoffs, you expect to flip the switch, much like many people, I think fairly, are kind of hiking their leg on CJ Stroud's season, which was mediocre to begin with, but whatever. But if CJ Stroud would have flipped the switch like Christian Kirk did the first game of the season and the first game of the playoffs, and the Texans were in the AFC Championship game, I think we'd be sitting here saying, wow, CJ's come a long way because you put more stock in the playoffs. So while the Christian Kirk deal was not great, I do think that the fact that he did win a playoff game for you, I think it says something. So I'm not sitting here saying that this belongs in the best. I think it's still in the worst. But I do think there's a little bit of a gray area that comes with it based on where the Texans are and based on the fact that a lot of times if you do other good things, it kind of allows you to have a little bit more room for error when it comes to Nick Caserio. You draft well, you develop players well, like Xavier Hutchinson. You're not all dependent on Christian Kirk. So it wasn't great, but you did perhaps win a playoff game because of it. So that's a little bit closer look at the Christian Kirk thing, which I think deserves a little bit of attention. The next move, and this one is for the draft nerds. This is going to piss the draft nerds off. So Nick Caserio, I thought, did a good job on day 2 last year. Now, I'm going to separate how he got to day 2 as one of the worst. And this one is what the draft nerds who follow us, maybe even more than they do in the regular season, were really pissed off at when the Texans made their trade on day 1 of the draft. So the Texans traded out of the 25th overall pick, and the pick after, the Rams made a trade back. And when you compare what the Rams got with what the Texans got, a lot of people may be throwing up in their mouth. Now, some of you might not even paid attention to it. But when you look at this, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So the Texans traded their 25th pick. They got the Giants 34th, the Giants 99th, and they got a 3rd in this upcoming draft. So the next draft, aka the upcoming draft. The Rams, they traded back 1 spot later, and they got Atlanta's 46th, Atlanta's 242nd, and they got a first-round pick in the next draft, which ended up being the 13th overall selection. Which move would you rather have? You maybe don't get Higgins, but if the Texans had the 13th overall pick in this year's draft, you might be able to get someone at wide receiver in that level. You might even be able to get Love out of Notre Dame, and who knows how they would have adjusted. Maybe they would have traded back up with the extra equity. That's interesting, to say the very least. The other element of this is there's a lot of times a QB tax. There's a lot of times a QB tax where if a team is trading up to take a quarterback, then they're willing to trade a little bit more. I mean, that's common. That's why when the Texans were selecting with the 2nd overall pick in 2023, you take CJ Stroud first, and then you trade up to go get Will Anderson. If it'd been a quarterback, it would have cost more. That's why Chicago got as much as they did, because they knew that Carolina was going to take a quarterback. So you get a first-round pick. It does look a little bit interesting. And I also think the other part of it is we watch Caserio throughout the draft. There doesn't really seem to be much of a method to what he's willing to trade, whether it's forward and back. It happens a lot. Sometimes he trades up and he gets a good player. Sometimes he just trades back and you're like, he's not going by a chart for sure. But the fact that the Rams, the pick after you, were able to get a first-round pick, and I don't give a damn if it's the 13th overall or the 32nd. You get a first-round pick, and you only go back 12 spots more than the Texans did, and the Texans had some extra equity there to where maybe you could have traded back up to 34. Yeah, you got to kind of question that, on top of giving the Texans credit for what they did after that trade was made on day 2. So I would definitely kind of question that one a little bit when it comes to Caserio's moves as we go through the best of and the worst. Now, this one was a worst, and I just think it deserves a little bit of extra attention. And some would say it's a non-factor, but I just thought it was weird when it happened, and it was weird that the guy ended up getting cut and they gave him $4 million for nothing. Signing Nick Neiman to a 2-year contract and giving him $4 million guaranteed. What was that? They already had Jake Hansen, who was a good special teams player, and they ended up giving him an extension in season. He actually ended up beating Nick Neiman's ass out. Pause, but he beat him out. And then you had Neville Hewitt before that. You had Christian Harris. Like, this one never really made sense, the Nick Neiman situation, $4 million guaranteed. It was actually one of the stranger moves of the offseason. And it kind of added to the recklessness of the Cam Robinson, the CJ Gardner-Johnson, the Christian Kirk. Like, they wasted a lot of money. They were able to get where they were, but they did waste a lot of money. And if it weren't for that draft, who knows where they would have been. But who the hell was Nick Niemann? Why the hell did you want him? What exactly did you imagine this guy doing? Like, did they think he was going to beat out Henry To'oTo'o or something? Did they think he was going to be like a $4 million special teams ace? Did they think he was going to be better than Hansen? I don't know what was going on here and why. Why the hell did you do it? That's like a nerdy ass, like, cover the Texans all the time thing, but it's also kind of symbolic of being really weird. The Nick Niemann thing. Yeah, $4 million to come here. For what? Don't really understand it. So that was one of the worst. You kind of connected to that. And then the best, I'll eat crow. I still think the deal would have been similar, but I didn't understand the Jalen Pitre extension when they did it. Now, fortunately for him, he's got the guardian cap on now. And who knows how this contract ends up playing out, but he's clearly a big part of what they do. And I can admit when I was wrong. I did not think the extension made sense. I thought that the price would have been the same. Maybe it still would have. I don't know that Jalen Pitre does what he does anywhere else. I think he probably knows that. But I think the Jalen Pitre extension ended up being a good one, and I have no problem admitting that. So I was wrong on that. That was a good move, and it ended up looking good for him. So that's where we're at. The best and the worst of Nick Caserio as the Texans head to the draft. Free agency is going to be interesting. I don't know that they really need to keep many of their own free agents. I would still move on from Dalton Schultz and get in that tight end market and buy low on some guys. Kyle Pitts is getting thrown out there. Isaiah Likely. You can save a lot of money getting rid of Schultz. I think the wear down is a real thing. I know he had a good season, but if you can go kick the tires on some guys, a lot of times at tight end, it improves. I'm not taking anything away from what he played. And I think if you do bring him back, you got to restructure. $11 million for Dalton Schultz makes no sense. But the tight end position, they need multiple bodies. You can't run it back with this group. Maybe we're talking Pitts. Maybe we're talking Likely. I think Nick Caley's probably going to have a strong opinion about this. But I think even if you bring back Schultz, you should still be drafting a tight end or figuring something out. Brevin Jordan has had 2 consecutive season-ending injuries. I love Brevin Jordan. I like what he stands for. He's still a big part of this team. He's there all the time. But you can't depend on that. Cade Stover, he hasn't played like someone that you can 100% trust as your number 2 tight end. I think if Cade Stover earns a spot on the team as a number 3 or 4 tight end, that's great. But as far as go into the season with Cade Stover as number 2, first of all, there's durability concerns. There's a lot of injuries. Second of all, the performance isn't fantastic. Like, we've seen Cade Stover whiff on some blocks at almost like a comical level. And it's been during a couple of costly plays. They don't get showcased as much because a lot of times the result, you kind of look at the QB or you look at other things. But there was a play where he damn near got Woody Marks killed. One of the many times Woody Marks damn near got killed against the Chargers. And there was another time where he just completely missed a block and a turnover happened against New England. They got to improve the tight end position. That's a 100% must. They got to figure that out when it comes to that. On the offensive line, who cares? Like, you're not paying Ed Ingram a ton of money. That would be ridiculous. Go find another Ed Ingram or find more of a long-term thing. You're not doing that. Trent Brown, can you really rely on that? Maybe if he wants to come back on a 1-year deal again and compete, cool. But you need a young option. Maybe they talk themselves into Blake Fisher, which I think would be crazy. I don't think they would necessarily want to do that. And then on the interior, you should be open to upgrading at center and guard. And Titus Howard, you're probably going to have to consolidate that contract and bring him back. And I think he's perfect in the tackle or guard mix. I don't think he's an elite tackle. I don't think he's an elite guard, but I think he's an elite versatile piece. So I think you're definitely bringing him back. On defense, you really don't have to worry about a lot. Sheldon Rankins could go either way. He's a big part of what they do, but we're getting to the point where maybe you can churn that position and find another guy that makes that type of impact. Linebacker, you got Aziz and Henry Toto. They're going to be back. Your safeties, Reed and Bullock are back. Your top 3 corners are back. Sting, Lassiter, and Reed. Hunter's back for 1 more year. Will Anderson's under contract for a couple more years with the 5th-year option. He might get paid. But on defense, you don't really have to worry about. There's not really a ton of free agents that the Texans really have to worry about. There's a lot of possibilities of upgrades. There's a lot of possibilities of kicking the tires on guys like you did here. But I hope that they don't approach this as a bring the band back together type of joint. Like, we got to bring the band back together. No, you got to improve, because that's pretty much what the rest of the division is. And I thought that was Caserio's best quote from yesterday, was they need to improve. And that's definitely what they need to do. It's you got to surround this guy with more talent. You got to surround CJ Stroud with more talent, and hopefully he figures it out. I mean, it's going to be a long offseason for him. I don't know what he's going to do, how he's going to handle it, but you got to do that. And they already had a good enough team to be in the AFC Championship game. I know Dan Orlovsky might have changed his mind, but most quarterbacks, maybe all 31, win that game. Wait, what? Oh, no. David Mulligetta, Ryan Clark just group texted me, told me I'm never mind, I take it back. I shouldn't have said that. I crossed the line. Oh, my gosh. I said CJ didn't play good. I said CJ was awful. That's never my goal when I took this job. But yeah, that's where it's at. You got to surround CJ Stroud with as much talent as possible, figure it out. Hope that he comes back and plays not awful. Not awful. And then you hope that the previously mentioned draft picks get better and you're able to figure it out there. So there we go. That's where we're at in the offseason. The best, the worst of Caserio. Did I leave anything out? Did I leave anything out on the CJ Stroud Texans evaluation? Don't know. Combine is a month away. Flight booked for the 23rd. We'll be there. Senior Bowl next week. Cody Stoots will be on the scene. Tomorrow, Spanky's, Bel Air, Sharpstown. I know a lot of people are getting ready for this cold weather, kind of freaking out. I was at Home Depot today. I actually saw someone. Someone said, "What's up, locker room?" He was with his girl. Actually said he got him, or is thinking about getting some Texans turf. You should, my friend. So I guess there's some sort of scam going on where I bought a Home Depot gift card for the wife, and I knew it was on November 19th because it was the day before her birthday. It was like $150 to do some stuff around the house. And she went to use it today, and when she tried to use it, they scanned it. It didn't scan. And then they noticed that the barcode was taped on. So they checked it, they ripped it, and they said, "Well, you can't use the gift card here. There's no balance, blah, blah, blah. Do you have the receipt?" And fortunately, she came home, she had the receipt. So I took it to the not the Best Buy, Home Depot, and I guess the card had been used in Atlanta, Decatur, Atlanta. And it was like a couple $1,000s purchase with a bunch of gift cards. So I don't know if these guys are like taking the gift cards and then putting something over the barcode or what, but I damn sure ain't going to Atlanta to buy anything from Home Depot. And I'm damn sure not, if I got away with a scam like that, gonna then go back to Home Depot and try to use it. So I was in line dealing with that, and a viewer saw it. But I guess they're going to take care of it. They're going to call me. They're going to give me a $150 gift card receipt. But my God, don't know what the hell was going on there. Weird situation. No idea. Jesse says he better not see a new CJ commercial during the offseason. A lot of people are saying they want him fired from HEB. A lot of people are saying they want CJ Stroud fired from HEB commercials. So who you putting on? Who you putting on if you take CJ Stroud off? Who we putting on? Will's got to be on. Daniil doesn't have the personality. You gonna put Aziz? Put Aziz on. Give Aziz a chance. Actually, put Lassiter, Bullock. Put Lassiter, Bullock. Sting doesn't want to do it. Lassiter, Bullock, Will, and Aziz. Put them on the commercials. Focus on the defense. Offense doesn't need any HEB commercials. You know what? I actually agree with you. Unless you want to put Woody Marks just because I think it would be funny seeing Woody Marks try to act. Yeah. Oh, Pitre. You want Pitre. Pitre does know about HEB. That's the other thing. You know that he is actually practicing what he preaches. He's not like Tom Brady advertising Pizza Hut. How ridiculous is that? The guy wrote an entire book about not even eating dairy, and he's doing Pizza Hut commercials. Like, come on. I thought about boycotting Pizza Hut when I saw that. Tom Brady ain't eating no Pizza Hut. But this is a good thought because Jalen Pitre is at least from here. And they have a lot of HEBs out there in Stafford. So Jalen Pitre would actually be someone like CJ's from Cali. Will Anderson's from Georgia / Alabama. So, yeah, at least Jalen Pitre would actually know the product. Yeah, I would do that. I wasn't really going to boycott Pizza Hut. I'm just talking smack. But I do. I'm not just saying this because we're going to be there tomorrow. And by the way, if you haven't heard, SNL going to be live at Spanky Sharpstown tomorrow. I just eat Spanky's pizza now. I really do. I just eat Spanky's pizza. It's like some gourmet Pizza Hut. Like some gourmet Pizza Hut. So that's where I go. By the way, this buffalo chicken wrap at Spanky's, Cody Stoots has been really hyping it up. This buffalo chicken wrap. Said it's the best buffalo chicken wrap in town. Best buffalo chicken wrap in town. And then he tried to really like justify. Stoots goes, you know what? I'm just gonna have two tomorrow. I'm gonna have two tomorrow. No shit. A says I work Friday. I wish I could make it out. That's cool. Like our weekly gatherings are always on Friday, but for the draft, our gatherings are on Saturdays. So we stream Thursday and Friday, and a lot of people have been able to make it out on Saturday, but we're going to do it on day 3 like we did last year, day 3 of the draft. It's going to be a massive, massive, massive party, and there's going to be a lot of giveaways and a lot of fun to be had. So we will definitely give you an opportunity if you don't work on Saturday. We got you taken. We'll be out there at 3 tomorrow. We'll broadcast live at 4 because we don't stop broadcasting Texans after the season. And we might make it out to Austin. We might be making some state trips as well because of the reach and stuff. So it'll be fun. See y'all at Spanky, Sharpstown, Bel Air, Manana. Bel Air, yeah, Sharpstown. And we'll be talking offseason. Today was a fun episode. If you want to go back and check out SNL, I thought it was a fun time doing the grades. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Offseason mode is officially upon us. It's a damn shame. It should have been day 2 of preparation for the Broncos as a favorite to go to the Super Bowl, but it didn't happen. And it was because of CJ Stroud. Oh, crap. Oh. I'm getting a text. Like Dan Orlovsky. Oh, never mind. I take it back. CJ didn't play bad. Bye-bye.
And loud, localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do.